Today we're going to be talking about the Etude in A flat major, Opus 25, number 1, written by Frederic Chopin. And this piece is actually a collection of 27 pieces that the composer wrote, and each one has a very challenging technique for the piano. This one in particular is usually called by many the harp etude, and this is because it sounds like a harp, and this is due to the arpeggio technique necessary that is throughout the whole piece. And now we're going to do an overview of the piece. This piece is in simple binary form, meaning that it has an A section and a B section. The A section is repeated, but I wrote A prime because it's the melodic line changes slightly, but for the most part it's the same material. And then we get a B section, and finally a coda that has new material. Now I'm going to be playing the piece from beginning to end, and make sure you watch out for the cadences and the different expansion techniques that the composer wrote. Now we're going to analyze the main motives of the piece. In this etude, I found 3 motives. The first one is in the soprano voice. As you can see, there's the repeated pitch followed by a whole step upwards motion. Then in the alto, we find arpeggios that imitate the sound of a harp. And finally, in the tenor, we have an upward and downward motion found in arpeggiated chords. And as you can see, all these 3 work together to make the sound of a harp. Later on in the video, we'll discuss them in more detail. And now we're going to do an overview of the harmonic motion of the piece. This piece was written in A flat major, and at the end of the A section, we get the key confirmed. And then as it goes into the A prime section, it slowly modulates to the mediant, which is C major. So we go from A flat major to C major. Then we're going to start the B section in that key, and it is confirmed once more. However, after this weak cadence over here that is kind of unclear, we get an expansion of a cadential material. That is, it's an internal repetition that's going on, and we get some different keys, and he plays around with the harmonies, and he is temporarily in A major in this section, and then slowly modulates in this area back to A flat major, which is our main key. As this cadential material keeps going, it attempts the first cadence, but we get a one more time technique, and Chopin decides to try again, and eventually this cadence is confirmed and is accepted, and we get the PAC in 1, which is what we're waiting for. And in the Etude, we get several examples of Kaplan theme types. Some of them are normative, and some of them are not really following Kaplan's theme types. For the first one, I chose the beginning of the piece, which is the A section, because it's a very clear 8-measure symmetric hybrid type. And as you can see, there's a compound basic idea and a consequent. And so I'll walk you through it. So we'll get the basic idea. And now we're going to talk about the B section, because it's a non-normative Kaplan example. As you can see, the B section is hybrid. We get a 4-measure presentation, we get a basic idea, and it's repeated, transposed really, and then we get cadential material. It seems that it's going to end where you see the dotted lines, but it just modulates back into A flat major, and then it attempts a cadence but it doesn't work out, and then it attempts it again, so it does a one more time technique, and it finally ends. So I'm going to walk you through the theme type so you can see what's going on. So we've got the basic idea, and it's repeated. We get cadential material, internal repetition, the first attempt, is it gonna do cadence? It doesn't. It expands the cadence. And so what happens with this Kaplan example is that the non-normative effect, meaning that he stretched out the cadential material, made it a lot more interesting. So instead of getting an 8-measure sentence, which is what we might have expected, we get a 19-measure musical creation. One might think of it as a presentation and a continuation that is just delayed. However, I personally thought it was cadential material, because it seems like it's going to end constantly. And both of the attempts, the one that doesn't work and the one that does, has extended predominant material. And that's why I personally thought of it more of as a cadential material than a continuation.